Good day everyone. My name is Riezza Danao and today I am going to tackle file monitoring, a data breach detection and prevention tool. Things to be discussed. First, what is file monitoring? Second, the role of files in a data breach. Third, spotting a data breach with a file monitoring. Lastly, stopping a data breach with file monitoring. What is file monitoring? File monitoring is a data breach detection and prevention tool. Sensitive enterprise data needs protecting from improper access, potential theft, alteration, or deletion. IT organizations need file monitoring software as a means by which to detect, respond, and even stop any inappropriate activity as soon as possible. As we are all living in the 21st century, data breach is a very common dilemma an organization or company may have faced. In this case, we can say that file monitoring is very important in an organization or company to have. It is how they maintain or manage their security in order for them to avoid having data breaches. The role of files in a data breach. With file monitoring, the IT experts are able to monitor every course of action taken within the organization or company's file system. Copying, moving, reading, deleting, as well as changing names, permissions, and ownership of a certain file is monitored and reported on. First, we have the files, which can be databases. Containing data of value are copied by attackers and are transferred externally by some form of file transfer. This is known as exfiltration. Second, we have the manipulation of operating system files and file systems to provide access to a given endpoint. Malware used to gain initial access to an endpoint often places, and in some cases replaces files that are called upon boot up to maintain persistence. In a data breach where file monitoring is present, there are two things IT experts can do. First, we have the spotting of data breach, and second, we have the stopping the breach. Spotting a data breach with file monitoring. With the majority of data breaches not being discovered until well after the breach activity has ceased, the obvious goal is to reduce the time it takes to identify a breach. Despite claims by security solutions to identify data breaches, two simple truths exist that apply to any exfiltration that involves lateral movement within the organization. First, the attacker must log on or authenticate at some point. Logons can be viewed as a leading indicator of data breach. If you see some unauthorized logons or unrecognized logons, then you should take some course of actions. Second, the attacker must access an endpoint's file. Some of the unusual activity aspects you should be looking for includes first, the frequency. Are files being accessed multiple times, more than once or twice? An unsure insider having second thoughts about stealing data may take several access attempts before finally taking data. With this situation, you'll be alarmed to see frequently accessed files and then as a one monitoring, you'll probably take some course of action. Second, the amount. Normal user access can likely revolve around an average daily use. The presence of a mass copying, bulk detention, or even movement of data is worth looking for. When someone copies files more than she or he needs, it arises suspicion. Third, we have the day or the time. A user accessing data at 10 p.m. on Friday night who normally only access files Monday to Friday during business hours seems suspicious. Most of the time, attackers mostly commit such thing when everyone leaves at work, especially at night. Number 4, endpoint or the IP address. Access from a machine outside the company network or one that doesn't normally access a given set of files can be a clear sign of improper use. With the knowledge of using computers, intruders could access the file system of a certain company within the radar of the company or even away from it. IT security may be alarmed with the access of someone's IP address unfamiliar to them, and In here, they can spot that someone is attacking them. Number 5, we have the permission changes. Attackers like to ensure persistence, both on endpoints and to data. The reassignment of permissions to accounts, those recently created in specific, is a tactic regularly used. So when permissions was suddenly changed, then it will arise suspicion that there is an intruder. If an employee changes something within the organization, he or she will give notice first, but if an intruder would do such thing, then you will be alarmed by the course of action they made. Lastly, we have the processes. Attackers may use their own tools to exfiltrate data. So, seeing processes other than Explorer, Word, etc., accessing files can indicate a problem. But spotting a breach, even minutes after it has occurred, may be a case too late. What IT organizations also need is an ability to stop a breach before damage is done. Stopping a data breach with file monitoring. In stopping a breach, we first need to look at file share monitoring as a typically reactive exercise. As with any monitoring, an action in question must be taken. The operating system must log the activity, and the monitoring solution must trigger an alert based on the already occurred action. So, it initially stands to reason that file monitoring can stop a data breach. There is one clear way to stop a breach. Spot it before the actual data theft takes place. Changing file monitoring from reactive to proactive security measures involves 3 steps. First, react to activity with an automated response. In addition to threat identification and notifying administrators, something needs to happen to act on alerts. An immediate action without waiting for an IT administrator to intervene is preferred. For example, a script that can be run whenever a specific alert is triggered to shut down a machine or log off a user. An organization is far better off running and monitoring solutions that offer automated response in addition to threat identification and real-time notifications. Second, stop thinking about monitoring only critical files. Every IT organization does it. They identify the critical files and folders and configure file monitoring on those files and folders only. That's like staring constantly at your one really expensive watch, unaware that someone is stealing everything else in your house. Once you're informed that those files have been accessed, it may be too late. Lastly, start widening the monitoring scope. Think like a hacker on this one. They don't know where the good data is, so they're going to be looking around a bit in an effort to identify data of value. Additionally, lateral movement activity, as previously mentioned, often requires manipulation of operating system files to provide the attacker proper access. File monitoring that looks at operating system specifies files, as well as a broader spectrum of data files, will help to identify an attacker potentially before they find your data of value. So, in order to stop data breach, you should spot it first before everything else. That's it, everyone. Thank you for listening.